Hello again. So it is, whatever it is, I think it's now June. It's like June 1st or something. And I have my little aluminum, little tinfoil hat on as protection from the devious Lewis. Because I have been able to take my revenge on him. I have prayed to the great YouTube god of PewDiePie. I said, Dear Pewds, Lewis has insulted me with his voodoo doll. Strike upon him, content creator success. Make him have so much success he cannot deny the power of content creation. And the great Pewds responded, and the great Pewds smote Lewis with subscribers. I'm very proud to say, revenge is very sweet. Lewis has literally gained 41,000 subscribers in the last 30 days. And actually most of that is in the last 2 weeks. So it's theoretically possible, like in 2 weeks, when he looks at his 30-day stats, he will have gotten more subscribers in that 30-day period than he had in the entire however long he's been doing YouTube since the beginning. So I think that's a good example. I think that is a good example of how things like YouTube and success and all that kind of stuff works, where you work really hard, and you put a lot of stuff out there, and you get a little bit of traction, and then all of a sudden, your link or your YouTube channel shows up in Reddit, and literally in 1 month, you gain the same amount of success that you have had over the last period of time. So I'm very happy to see, I'm very proud to see that his success is continuing, because now he's at 101,000 subscribers as of when I took a look at it this afternoon. So that's pretty good. At 101,000 subscribers, you can really not deny your YouTube success. I talk about that with if you're gonna be a content creator. Until you get 50,000 subscribers, you really don't know whether or not anybody cares about you. Again, whether people like the sound of your voice, whether people like the topics that you say, whether the people feel like they connect with you, you really don't know. If you have less than 50,000 subscribers, don't worry about monetization, don't worry about a lot of that stupid stuff, just worry about connecting with subscribers. Because when you're below 50,000, who the hell knows, right? Doesn't matter. You could have the best business plan in the world, but if people don't connect with you, don't matter, right? But then once you get to 100,000 subscribers where you get that fancy little silver play button. So I'm sure within the next year he'll get that silver play button. When you get the silver play button, basically what that means is you really are good at this. You really are good at this. This is the point where you can really start thinking about is this something you really want to push ahead forward? As at 100,000 subscribers, it's rather easy to get sponsorship. You obviously know you can grow that much. You have content that can go semi-viral. Again, if you can get 40,000 subscribers in 30 days, that means there's something there that people are very interested in. And really, it's all sky's the limit. So I'm very happy that the great god of YouTube, the great Pewds, struck upon Lewis 41,000 subscribers. We will bring him to the dark side. Because we have cookies. Now I have to worry. What disease am I going to get now? Let's see. Beyond that, there were some other questions that people brought up yesterday. I figured I'd answer them if I'm doing these little vloggy type things. Figure in the beginning I'll answer them. That's actually kind of stupid. Hopefully I don't need a tinfoil hat to protect me from Lewis. But a couple of questions that came up yesterday, just so everybody knows as far as SoundCloud is concerned, because a lot of people said, well, Eli, if you're doing these videos as basically audio things, why don't you put them on SoundCloud? And the reason is because putting content onto multiple different platforms is a pain in the butt, and because YouTube pays me, right? So when you watch one of these videos and you watch an ad, I get a fraction of a cent for that. And then also if you have YouTube Red, which allows you to download it to your phone, I actually get a decent amount. YouTube Red is actually starting to pay a little bit of money. So if I put content onto YouTube, I get paid for it. Or at least there's the opportunity to get paid for it. Whereas with SoundCloud, I pay for that. So that's one of the reasons why I'm putting most of my stuff onto YouTube. And then also, I really do have to say, which is snarky as mean and all that, as I had been to YouTube not that long ago, YouTube really does seem to be changing its ways. Again, that's one thing you have to think about with business, is remember, it is business. Business is business. It's not personal, it's business. A lot of people get really pissed when they hear that kind of thing, but it really is true. And so what you have to realize is a lot of businesses change over time. And so, again, one of my arguments against YouTube is before, it was all focused on being a platform, and then we were basically like organic systems. Like, they looked at content creators about the way they looked at servers. And as brutally as an IT person would look at servers too. And what I've been seeing is over this year, 2016 so far, is they are really across the board making a concerted effort to make things better. And so, you know, I've got a partner manager now. That seems to be going well. When I have technical problems, I have people to contact and they respond to me, so on and so forth. So I'm willing to give YouTube the benefit of the doubt at this point. And so that's why I'm not too worried about doing the whole SoundCloud thing. We're just going to continue doing doing YouTube, and go from there. Again, if you want to be able to download the videos, YouTube Red. Only $10 per month. But Eli, $10 is too much money. It's like, yeah. No, we're about to take off for our trip next week. And let me tell you about a lot of money. Let me tell you about money. Travel and experience and adventure and all that kind of stuff to talk to you folks about. Costs a hell of a lot more than $10. So if you're not willing to pay $10, I don't know what to tell you. So that came up. Any other interesting things that came up? Somebody said I should do these videos. They're like, hey, these videos are really good. They just have to be less than 10 minutes. And again, videos will never be less than 10 minutes. The entire point of these is doing hour-long videos. Oh, and then finally, the weird thing that came up was I was talking yesterday that I think I'm going to start using a tripod more. So I'm still not using the tripod now. I'm still using the monopod. But I do still plan to use the tripod more. Because one of the very weird, exceptionally weird beyond compare complaints that have actually gotten from quite a few people is that I don't stare into the camera. Boy, you better stare into that dead eyeball when you're talking to me, right? And so I said it was weird, because it is weird. I think it's weird. I don't know if you think it's weird. But I got some complaints about it, and they were weird complaints. And so one of the things I was saying is that I was going to use a tripod, because the further away the camera is from me, the more it makes it look like I'm looking at you, right? And just with it being this close, it's difficult to do what I do and actually look straight into the weird, creepy lens anyway. But somebody seemed to have taken exception to it. Again, you can never really quite tell in comments. And it was like, if it's so weird, if my comment is so weird, then like maybe I should like unsubscribe or whatever and take my Patreon money with me or something like that. I think they were insulted that I said it was weird. But here's the thing, if you're going to watch my videos and you're going to comment, I'm going to comment back. And again, if I don't call you a colossal, half-aborted elephant ass, I'm not really sure why you would be offended by it. Right? If I say something's weird, or if I say something dumbass, or something like that, that's rather light. And that's just what I say. Just how it is. So one thing, if you're gonna do comments and you get offended by things like dumbass or weird, it's probably not good to leave comments, because I'm gonna respond to comments. Again, like I say, I think that's one of the weird things with like YouTube users and viewers, is it's like they use comments as a way of communication, but then they really don't want to think of it as communication. Like, it's that weird thing, right? Like, I get that sometimes where like people will be really snarky, really mean, or really vicious, and then I'll come back at them and be snarky and mean, and they'll be like, oh, how could you possibly do that? And you're like, well, you're being snarky and mean to me, so I'll be snarky and mean to you, right? It's communication. So like, I say things pretty bluntly. So if you leave a comment, I will comment about the comment. And again, as long as I don't say you're, whatever, half-digested sphincter of a rotted goat. I don't know. I don't think you should take it too bad. But I think this person may have taken it bad. And then they were talking about, well, maybe I'll take my Patreon money with me. And just so it's all clear, as far as that Patreon money is concerned, y'all can take all your Patreon money with you whenever you want. Again, what I really hate with YouTube content creators, and you see this with Markiplier, and you see this with Boogie, and you see with all these other people, I love you. I don't love you people. I don't like you people. Not because I couldn't like you people. Not that I couldn't learn to love you. It's just I don't know any of you, right? Again, like Lewis, I vaguely know. And he seems like a pretty good guy. But again, like all this shit we go back and forth with Lewis, I mean, we might have a cup of coffee and may just like fucking hate each other in real life. And I mean, that's reality. Like there's like a stink to people, right? You know, everybody talks, like nobody really thinks about that, like with like people so much of the time. And this is why like the whole idea of when YouTubers say I love everybody, I think it's ridiculous. Is that, you know, you just sit down and there are some people you just absolutely adore and some people you just absolutely hate. And you can rationalize it all you want. The reality is you either do or don't like the smell of their ass. You know what I'm saying? So as far as like what the Patreon thing is concerned, I do appreciate everybody that supports the Patreon. But again, I'm authoritarian, not submissive. But it is a two-way street with the whole Patreon thing. Again, what I am doing costs money. I am willing to invest time, money, and energy into this project because I believe at the end of the day it will pay well. But at the end of the day, if it doesn't pay well, then I will move on to a different project. So as far as a Patreon is concerned, I respect the people that pay me money on Patreon for paying me money on Patreon. And I expect them to respect that I create a shit ton of content like every single day. And it's a mutual back and forth. I create content that you find is valuable, and you give me greenbacks that I find is valuable, and then we go along. You know what I'm saying? So as far as like with a Patreon or with anything else, just so anybody knows, like if you pay me $2 on Patreon, again, I am appreciative of it. Thank you. I appreciate the $2. But again, I hope to hell you're appreciative of me sitting here for an hour a day talking to you folks about real world experiences that'll hopefully make your life better. So you know what I'm saying? There's a back and forth on that. So yeah, if anybody like gets too offended on the whole weird thing, like, well, if you think I'm weird, I'm gonna take my Patreon money and go away. Bye. I don't know. No, not $2. Don't take the $2. But anyways, it is funny with the Patreon thing because it like stagnated. Like I'm up to like $79 a month on the Patreon, and then it just kind of like stopped. It was like I had like the 23 people that decided they wanted to support me on Patreon, and then no, there's not 24 people. It's not 25. 23 people want to support me on Patreon. It's like what is this? Grade A under A does stick figures, giving everybody the middle finger, and he gets like $4,500, $5,000 a month. Anyways, it is one of those weird things with like personalities though. And again, when you think about Patreon, and again, like I say with the whole ass stinking thing, is again, there's like this weird thing like with me, with things like Patreon and all that, where like other people can really like just milk the hell out of that stuff. You see like Ethan and whatever, H3H3, you know, he's getting sued by the bold guy or whatever. And he goes on, and he has that pathetic face, and then Philip DeFranco creates a GoFundMe account to try to fund the legal suit, and now they've got like $160,000. And it's really funny, and this is something to think about like with business and all that kind of stuff. I just can't imagine that happening for me. I think I could have 5 million subscribers, and if I said I need to do a crowdfunding campaign, I think I'd have 23 people lining up. I think I'd have those 23 people like, we're with you, there's $5. Where on the other hand, it's really weird, like I say, as far as business is concerned, where like Grade A Under A has like 2.2 million subscribers right now, gets like 2 to 3 million views per video, and yet people are still giving him Patreon money, like $4,500 per month. And there's that thing. I don't know what it is. Why? Why, I ask? And again, who knows? But again, it is something to like think about. Like, do you have the face for whatever you're asking for? So like, I don't feel like I have the face for crowdfunding. I don't like, there is something, like how I present myself, I do not think comes across well for crowdfunding. Even though it makes like a lot of sense. I mean, it's just like pure, simple, frickin' arithmetic. I am doing this because I think it'll make a good business model. I think I can make money doing this. If I can make money doing this, I will keep doing it. If not, I won't. Other people are like, I create stick figures that give people the middle finger. And they get $4,500 a month. What is this? I do not get it. I do not get it. But anyways, that's the only thought. Like I say, I don't know if the person was threatening. Just so you know, if you left a comment that way, it sounded like you were threatening me with your $2. It sounded like you were like, I am going to take my $2 and go home. So if that is the case, then again, by all means, I am not going to twist anybody's arms to stay here. If it's not the case, just realize that's how your comment came across. But the other thing too with the Patreon, just so everybody understands too, is that once this has more subscribers, more than 6,000 subscribers, I will need to make money. And so one of the questions is, and that's basically the question for me, is how do I make money? Ad revenue, can be decent. Ad revenue is definitely decent. But the real money comes from people actually writing checks. So I can either get people to write checks through Patreon, and again, once I hit a certain number, I'm fine with that. Or I can get sponsors to write checks, which actually is a hell of a lot easier, to be honest with you. But the issue is, as soon as you get sponsors writing checks, that means the content just gets tweaked a little bit. I, of course, will never tweak my content to the point that I am not authentic to myself. But it will get tweaked to a point. And so that's really the question, is do you want the sponsors focusing the content, or do you want the viewers focusing the content? Again, at the end of the day, it just comes down to money. Eli, you should do this for free. Yeah, well, Whole Foods should give me organic potatoes for free, but they don't. The Exxon does not give me free gasoline. The insurance company does not give me free insurance. So I'm not sure why content creators are supposed to do things for free, but yeah, it's not going to happen here. But anyways, that was my spiels for the day. I figure since I'm doing these vlogs every day, I should respond to some of the comments. I do think I'm going to start taking questions too. Again, since I'm doing this 5 days a week, at a certain point, I'm going to run out of comments content that I can pull out of my ass. So I think I am going to start taking questions from you folks. So I'll probably set up like a question at failednormal.com, and then you can send questions in, and then I can just riff on them for like an hour at a time. So I think that is coming up. I think that is definitely coming up. And then, until we get into our main topic, the final thing, very happy for. So we have booked out our first 2 places for the travel trailer trip. That'll start next week. So Tuesday we are taking off. We will spend from Tuesday to next Tuesday, so 7 days. We'll spend 7 days around Ohiopyle in Pennsylvania. So again, I'll be doing Silicon Trailer. So if Ohiopyle, Pennsylvania means something to you, stay tuned, because I will tell folks how to schedule an appointment. So we'll do Ohiopyle for a week. Then we'll go down to Luray, Virginia, because we'll be exploring Shenandoah National Park. So we'll do that for a week. Again, if that means anything to you. And then we'll go down to Gatlinburg, or right outside of Gatlinburg, North Carolina, South Carolina. It's right around Pigeon Forge. That's the coolest name in the world. I want to live in Pigeon Forge. Not because I know what Pigeon Forge is like, not because it has like a good standard of living. I would just love to say it. Like, that would be just so cool. Hello, I am the great guru Eli from Pigeon Forge. I just think that sounds like a really cool name. Like South Beach or Washington, D.C. That seems so normal. Oh, Eli, where are you from? Pigeon Forge. That's right. In the land where we forge our pigeons. Your pigeons are born of eggs. Our pigeons are born of steel. I think that sounds cool. But anyways, Gatlinburg, right around Pigeon's Forge. And then after that, I think we're going to head back. Because again, one thing to think about with planning, like if you're going to do RV trips or any of these kind of trips, is unfortunately big national holidays come up. And so the issue is, since we're leaving next week, it's a week, and then a week, and then a week, and then the problem is then the next week we wanted to go to Hilton Head But we didn't realize that was going to be then the weekend of July 4th. And so July 4th is Independence Day. Yay! Which means big travel trailer RV season. And so Hilton Head is completely booked up and on a waiting list. And then we started looking around at other places. And so we thought, well, maybe we'll just stay a little bit longer in Gatlinburg area, like a couple days longer. And then we'll come back home. Because then we'll come back home. We'll be home for like 3 or 4 weeks. And then we're going to go up north anyway. So we're kind of doing things and just kind of going with the flow. That's what we're actually going to be talking about today. We're kind of going with the flow. So that is our current idea. So if you're around Ohio Pile or Luray or Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge, stay tuned because we will be doing the Silicon trailer thing again. Because it is fun. It is interesting. I do like sitting down and talking with people. And again, that's the other thing, like, I find so weird with, like, the YouTube world. It's like, so many people, like, call me, like, arrogant and egotistical and all these horrible things. And I just want to ask, what other YouTube content creator literally goes out of their way to have individual meetings with their viewers that literally last anywhere between 1 to 3 hours? There have been multiple. Don't expect 3 hours. But there have been some good concepts. And so there have been multiple times I have sat there in the middle of God knows where, Spaghetti Monster knows where, at a picnic table for 3 hours talking about something. How many content creators do that? And yeah, so many people give me credit. Oh, you arrogant, egotistical. Oh, you're just in this for yourself. But, damn it. Damn, I'm just honest about money. But anyways, that's the other thing too, with the Patreon thing. That helps fund that kind of stuff. Again, like I say, when people come to me, like all those meetings that I had with people, and then even with the Skype meetings, I charge very little. And that's all the kind of stuff that I do. Because, it's what I do. As, so others may live and all that kind of horse crap. But anyways, I want to talk about going with the flow today. The whole idea, especially as a professional, going with the flow. Because I see this as a big problem nowadays. And again, one of the reasons why I don't want to do the Eli the Computer Guy class videos the way I've been doing them. And even with meetings and all that, I want to change how I do it. Because one of the big problems that we run into nowadays is everybody decides what they want to be when they grow up. And then they focus on that. Regardless of what's going on in the world, regardless of what people are willing to pay for, regardless about whether the technology they want to, or whatever it is they want to do, is, 20 years obsolete at this point. People go out there and they say, this is what I want to do. And it really runs you into a really big problem. Like, so when I've done these meetings with people, that's one of the reasons I'm trying to get out of the whole technology education thing. Because again, I really feel like the technology professional is dying, and there will be the rise of the technology literate professional. So instead of having the IT department for the accounting firm, you will have a few accountants that know more about technology than the other people. It'll simply be yet another skill set, right? Because things are becoming so simple and all that. But that's the issue that I run into with a lot of people, because basically we sit there and we talk about things. We talk about internships. We talk about education. We talk about this. We talk about that. We talk about the other thing. And then at the end of it, they're always like, okay, well, how do I get my MCSE? Okay, it's been a really good conversation, Eli. So now I'm going to go and get my CCNA or whatever. And I look at them, but it's like, but nobody wants your CCNA. Nobody cares. Again, I literally, like when I went to INE, I was talking to a CCIE there. I had a whole group of CCIEs around me. So we had like one of these meetups. I had a whole group of CCIEs around me. And so I was asking about the CCNA, because I always get crap about this whole thing with the CCNA. So if you notice up in my office, there's a roll of toilet paper that says CCNA. And that was literally given to me by a recruiter, a tech recruiter. That was the joke gift when he came to do an interview with me. So he gave me a toilet paper with CCNA, because basically CCNA is essentially worth toilet paper. It's a good step. Like if you're trying to go for your CCIE, or if you're trying to go for your CCNP, it's a good step. But it itself doesn't get you anywhere, right? And that's a problem. So what I see is a lot of people like take loans, or they spend all the money they have in order to get their CCNA, and then they expect to be able to get a job afterwards. And it's like, no. Yeah, just CCNA as an individual credential without electronic military experience, without a college degree, without an MCSE, without other experience is basically just worthless. And so that's how I was talking to. I was talking to this whole group of CCIEs, and I was asking, it's like, so can somebody get a job with a CCNA? And, you know, like 3 or 4 of them are like, no, fuck it, CCNA. Yeah, toilet paper, right? And then one guy's like, no, you can get a job with a CCNA. And I was like, okay, hold the boat. Again, I'm very vociferous about the things I believe, but I will change them. If somebody has a good argument for their thing, or if there's something that I did not know. So I was down there, and this was down in the Research Triangle down in North Carolina. So it was like, oh, and they hit my head, like, whoa, maybe in the Research Triangle, maybe they're so desperate for networking folks that they will actually bring out a CCNA. And so I was like, really? You can get a networking job with a CCNA? And he said, no. I was like, what? But you get hired for a help desk. It's like, It's like, yeah, but a moron can get hired for a help desk. You know, somebody, if you understand the English language and can speak and can like use email, you can get hired for a help desk. So spending $3,000 and taking the time and energy to get the CCNA in order to just get a help desk job, yeah, right. And so one of the problems that I see is like everybody is like hyper focused on this idea of this is what I want to be when I grow up, and therefore that is all I'm going to take. That is what I am focused on. Again, no matter how the world has changed, and again, the world has been changing a lot since I've been an adult, and the world has continuously changed. I think that's one of the funny things. Like I find, like with this whole right now with Trump. Again, I don't want to get in the middle of Trump and Hillary because I hate them both. Like I do not want anybody out there to feel like I am endorsing either of them, implicitly or explicitly. All right, but the whole thing, like with Trump, is there's this whole thing with like protectionism and free trade and all that kind of stuff. But the reality is this has been going on since like longer than I've been alive. Like when I was in grade school, like globalization was like a big deal. Like literally, and I think that's what like with young people they don't understand, and old people just haven't been fucking paying attention. But like when I was a kid, right? So when I was a kid, I was growing up in West Virginia. And West Virginia is coal country. For a long time, right? They had a lot of problems back in the early 20th century, back in like 1901 and all that kind of stuff. Oh my God, you talk about unionization, labor fights and all that kind of stuff. It was brutal. They had battles out in the mountains. That's a story for a different time. But then they finally got unions in and all that kind of stuff. And so for my father's generation, the coal mines were a good deal because you get to go to, I mean, if the furthest you want to go in education is high school, coal mines are a good deal because you can go there, you can make really good money being unionized. You got really good benefits. You just had to work in a coal mine. But realistically, is a coal mine really that much worse than a McDonald's? McDonald's might be more dangerous if you really look at it for a whole career. Because that's one thing people like look at. People like think mining is really dangerous, but then they see all the stuff that happens to a miner over their career. So yes, if you have a career as a miner for 20 or 30 years, some nasty stuff can happen to you. The thing is, like with fast food, most people only do it for like a year. And so you don't have that whole career thing, right? So if you do fast food for like 30 years, I mean, I have friends who do like the restaurant industry, and even things like slip and falls, like a little bit of oil on the floor. Anyways, that's his own little story. So anyway, so the miners had a good thing going on. You know, they got unionized pay. Everybody's using more and more coal, more and more energy, blah blah blah. And then there was this whole issue that came about where so coal gets mined out of the ground. And then it would get mined, and then it would be sent up to Pittsburgh. So Pittsburgh had all the steel plants, and the steel plants they didn't burn. They didn't just use coal. They used something called coke. And so coke is coal gets processed. Don't ask me how. Alakazam, right? And so like back in the early 80s, there were a lot of layoffs, and there was a lot of economic turmoil. Because with globalization, this is the most screwed up thing in the world. Because we're talking about coal. We're not talking about like organic apples or like organic guava or something like that. We're talking about coal. And so the Japanese got so fucking efficient at processing coal and dealing with other things with steel that it ended up being cheaper to mine the coal in West Virginia, ship the coal cross-country, or into ships or whatever, ship it all the way to Japan, process it in Japan, and then ship it back to Pittsburgh, just for the steel plants in Pittsburgh to be able to use this coke, than it was to actually get this processed in the United States, in the local area, right? So this kind of gives you an idea, like with globalization. Like globalization has been going on a long time. Like right now, everybody's like bitching, whining, complaining about China, but it wasn't that long ago they were bitching and whining, complaining about Japan. Again, the one thing that will always stay true about Americans is that we will always find somebody to be scared shitless about and complain. Like, that's the thing. Like, it's funny, like, growing up, again, in the 80s, is everybody was convinced the Japanese were going to take over the world. Does anybody remember that? Does anybody remember, like, the Japanese were coming over and they were buying land? Like, there was this whole thing where, like, because, you know, Japan is only so big, and so all these big Japanese business people decided to start buying up U.S. land, and everybody was scared crapless. All we could hear about was how much smarter the Japanese kids were, and American kids are lazy, and Americans are blah, blah, blah. Right? Remember, Japanese were amazing, and Americans were pathetic. Yeah, how's that been going for Japan for the last 20 years? But anyways, everybody's sorry. But there's this constant thing. There's this constant change. And so one of the problems that I see is everybody, like, you know, when they're 10 or 12 or 15 or 20 or whatever, they focus on this idea of what they want a job to be. And then, like, come hell or high water, they're completely and utterly focused on that, no matter what other opportunities show up. And I think that causes a real problem, because in the real world, you never really know what you're going to end up getting paid for. Again, as I say, I would have never imagined that anybody would have paid for my dulcet voice as I talk into a camera, but people are. But think about if I was hyper focused. Again, think about like back when I had my computer repair shop. So I had my computer repair shop, and I had my employees, and I had my building, and I had my this and that and the other thing. And imagine if I put my head down, I was like, no, I have put too much time, effort, and energy into this business. I will not let it fail. And then I would have just ground on. And I'd probably be dead right now with a heart attack, to be honest with you. Because there would just been so much stress, and there would be no money. But by being flexible, by changing what I'm doing, by shifting based on what the world needs at this point, I can end up being successful. And I think that's one thing that people don't really think about, is they really don't think about being being flexible and going with the opportunities that present themselves. Right? Like I have a buddy of mine. He was a bizarre guy. And that was the thing. Like back when I was in my 20s, right? I was focused on how to be successful. But what I wanted was I wanted to be successful. I wanted to make money, and I wanted to be happy. Those were the things that I was looking for in life. And so those were the types of people that I would go to and try to figure out how they had done what they had done, right? And so that's the thing. So like, if you have a Ferrari, but you're acting like an asshole all the time, that's great, that's nice. I might have a conversation with you, but you weren't going to be my mentor, right? If you were all like happy-go-lucky, but you had no idea how you're going to pay the rent, I didn't really want to talk to you either, right? I was looking for those people, the people that feel like they're successful, that are making money, and that are actually happy. Because again, when you think about it, there's a lot of people out there that are successful with money that are just miserable sods, just miserable people, right? And what the hell's the point of that? Again, and it really is one of those things to be thinking about. Like, again, I'm all for money. Money's a good thing. I will strike Lewis down with subscribers and money. Anyways, money's a good thing, but it shouldn't be like the end all be all. If you have a lot of money and yet you're miserable at the same time, what the hell's the point of that, right? So I went out there, and so everybody that was happy, everybody that was making money, and everybody that seemed successful, those are the ones I went after. Those are the ones I talked to. And those were the ones that had the most bizarre story. Especially for like a little Aspie trying to go out there and figure out the paint by number way to be successful. It really sucked. Because, man, they were painting to some hallucinogenic numbers, right? I would sit there and I would talk with people, and the thing that I found was everybody that I talked to that was successful, made money, and was happy, had the bizarrest fucking life stories you have ever heard, right? Again, you think about it, and what you hear in life is You do good in high school, and then you do good in college, and then you do good at work, and then you make money. And for the people that do it that way, what you don't really realize is a lot of them are just like miserable sods. Like I had a friend of mine, right? It was so sad to see her. It was sad. When I saw her, it was like the saddest day of my life, right? Because I had this one friend of mine back when I was going to community college. And she was boisterous, and she was energetic, and she was outgoing, and she wanted to be a thespian. And you're right, you know, every time I saw her, she was happy and blah, 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 blah. And then, so that was, I saw her there. I saw her when I knew her when we were going to community college. And then I ran into her like a few years later. And she was finishing up her master's degree in computer science. And so when she was, when I knew her, she was having all these arguments with her parents about being a thespian. And they said, no, you need to get a real job. You need to be able to make money. You need to go into computer science. And so sadly, she gave up that fight. She lost that fight. And so she went to computer science, right? So she got a bachelor's degree in computer science, and then she was getting her master's degree in computer science. And when I met her the next time, she looked sad, depressed, horribly overweight, and worst of all, out of all of that, she could barely actually say an entire sentence anymore. Like, I went there to talk to her, and like, she was just so not with any part of the world anymore. Like, she would start talking to me, like, for a sentence, and then, like, by the end of the sentence, it was already, right, because she was just miserable as hell, right? But she had told, oh, this is the way you make money. That's horrible, right? So I go out there, and it's like, no, I am not, again, the Spaghetti Monster did not put me here to make money. I don't feel like money is the point. Like, if this is a video game, I don't feel like money is the point. I think feel like, you know, you know, you do some video games, there's all these kind of different things that you can collect, but there's only like one thing that's actually valuable, but people still collect all this other crap. I feel like that's kind of like with life. Like, there are valuable, like, points or whatever, but money is not necessarily it. Money is money is good, but yeah, right. But you have these people hyper-focused on money, and that's the thing, and then they just become miserable wretches. And so I went out there and I talked with people. It's like people that are happy, successful, blah, 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 because that's the thing. You want all of those things together. If you are successful and poor, that still sucks. Again, if you get cancer, your wife gets cancer, and you're poor, that sucks, especially in America. Again, if you have a lot of money but you're miserable, that sucks. Again, if you have money and are happy but are not successful, one of the issues that you run into there is it can be very tenuous. So I saw that a lot. And again, with all these bubbles you get, the problem is a lot of people start getting outsized payments for things that aren't really that valuable, right? Like, I knew one person that was making a crap ton of money. Oh, the allergies. Oh, I need my thing. Lewis is attacking me. I knew one person who was making a crap ton of money buying real estate for cell towers. So you don't really think about it, but you know, when they put up cell towers, they need to actually put them on land, and so leases need to be signed, or real estate needs to be sold, so on and so on. So one of these people became an expert in selling and buying and selling, you know, cell towers, which wasn't really that impressive. They weren't like an uber insane, amazing real estate expert. They just knew that particular thing. And so the issue is if you're not really successful in your career field, when what you're doing now ceases to be valuable, everything goes away. So that person went from making well into the six figures to being on food stamps, like, in a heartbeat. Because, like, literally, it was like, well, I'm used to making this amount of money. And you're like, yeah, but nobody's ever going to pay you that again. Unless you do something else, unless you go off and be a neurosurgeon or something. But what you were doing before, they're like, I will not take anything less than $150,000 a year. You're like, huh? Well, nobody's actually going to offer you that. So how is that going to work out for you? Anyways, so that's why you need to be successful too, because if you're successful, then you can transfer. Again, one of the things I talk about with you folks is people say, oh, what if YouTube blows up or whatever? And again, if YouTube or whatever blows up tomorrow, yes, it would suck. You know, the next week would suck. The next month would suck. Probably this year would suck. But realistically, past a year, I would do something. Again, that's with being successful. I could either teach, or I could do consulting, or I could actually do tech work, or I could do this, or I could do that, or I could do the other thing. Do I know what I would do if YouTube blew up? No, because it would all be situational. Who knows? Who knows? If YouTube blew up and Amazon was a better platform, maybe I would just go to Amazon. If YouTube blew up and Amazon wasn't a good platform, then again, I might go back to consulting. Who the hell knows? But that's why you'll be successful. So you want money, you want happiness, and success. So I'd go out there and I would talk with these people, right? And it was really interesting, these really, really weird stories that you got. And so that's one of the things to be thinking about with being flexible with what you want to do. Like one of the best stories I heard, and I've talked about this on my other channel. And what's so sad, and that's how you realize so many of these people have their heads so far up their asses. And again, why I've stopped liking the Eli the Computer Guy channel is because you have all these idiots that just, again, they just don't get how the world works. And so one of the stories I talk about is I knew this woman back when I was doing my scuba diving classes. So I got certified up to rescue diver, actually. And so doing scuba diving classes, I was doing one of my checkout things. And so the checkouts were down in Florida. Checkout dives were down in Florida. So she came down with me in a car with a couple other people, and I was sitting there talking with her. And it was really interesting because she was like really attractive. She was like really attractive and really smart and really interesting. And so I asked her what she did in life. And she said she was a chemical engineer. Again, this is while I'm still young. So she's probably 30 and I'm like 20 or whatever. And I was like, chemical engineer? Really? How the hell did you become a chemical engineer? Oh, and that was the thing. She was a chemical engineer at a paper plant. And so you sit there and you look at this nice looking blonde woman who is very intelligent, very, very, very sociable. Just good all the way around. And you find out she's a chemical engineer at a paper plant. Not exactly what you'd think, right? Yeah, just like, that's not like, I'm not sure what I would think, honestly. I'm not sure what I would think, but, right. And so I started talking to her about how she became a chemical engineer at a paper plant. And so what she said is she was like, well, you know, I spent all these years and I backpacked through Europe, right? And she was like, I met all these people and had a good time. And she was talking about, you know, sunbathing topless in the Mediterranean on a yacht. I was like, no, stop talking about that. Yeah, next. Anyways, and so she says she spent a lot of time doing that. And then she traveled around, had all the fun and all that. And then she came back. And then she decided that she wanted to settle down and have a normal career. And so she got accepted to whatever college. She got accepted to a good college. And so what she did is she walked into the career advice place, and she said, okay, this is what I want. I am a woman. I know women get screwed over in this world. We're not allowed to say that, but it's true. So she was like, you know, look, I'm a woman. I don't want to deal with all the crap most women deal with, right? And again, that's what I liked about her too. And I wish more women would take this to heart, where it's like, if you walk in, if you set up your life and you're like, that's how 90% of the women over the world treated. I don't want to be treated like that. So how can I set my life up so that it won't be treated like that? So she said, I understand how women get treated, and balls to that. I ain't dealing with that shit, right? So she said, I want to go into a job that has a great deal of respect. Like, you are in this job and you have a lot of respect. I want to be in a job where it doesn't matter if I'm a man or a woman. Like, really fundamentally doesn't matter if I'm a man or a woman. I want a job that makes a lot of money. I want to make a lot of money. And I want a job that has a lot of prospects. Right? And so they said, chemical engineer. She said, great. And she went off and be a chemical engineer. And she was, by the time I met her, she was 30. And she was like, I make a shit ton of money. I get a shit ton of respect. The boys do not fuck with me. That's a good life, right? And then she went with a paper plant, because I guess, again, paper plants seem like disgusting places. But if you're a chemical engineer in a paper plant, again, that's one thing you have to think about, like with like different places to work. Like, you know, if you're in a meat packing plant and you're the person cutting up the cows, that's a really horrible, nasty job. But if you're at the meat packing plant and you're the person trying to figure out, you know, the best way to grill a steak, that could be a good job. Again, one place has both really crappy jobs and really good jobs. So like if you're at a paper factory, you know, there's a lot of people that deal with a lot of nasty ass horrible crap that you don't want to deal with. On the other hand, if you're the chemical engineer, you tell those poor bastards what chemicals to use. They're the poor bastards dumping the chemicals into the vat. and the people telling the poor bastards to pour the chemicals into the vat. You know what I'm saying? So she had a really great life. She was really, really, really happy about it. She was genuinely, and again, that's what I always look into their eyes. And I always, like, if you ever deal with me, I always poke people nine different ways to figure out how they actually feel. And she really was. She was really happy, and it was all a really good thing. And that's one of the things I liked with that story, because it was so much about flexibility. She went in and she said, this is the lifestyle that I want. What job gets me that? And it's one of those things people don't do anymore. They're like, no, Eli, I want my MCSE and then I will make money. It's like, yeah, but MCSEs aren't that valuable anymore. No, Eli, no, I've been told by some dumbass trying to sell me something that they do make money. You're like, yeah, not anymore, right? Like I say, it's the thing with flexibility. I had another buddy of mine. And that was like one of the interesting things too. I knew him. And he did all kinds of weird stuff. It took like 9 years to get his bachelor's degree. And again, it's also about having fun when you're young. Go out there, have a lot of experiences, get well-rounded. But it was interesting. I was talking with him about getting his bachelor's degree. And he wasn't like an idiot. He wasn't an idiot. He wasn't a party person. He just really liked education. And he just really did not care about getting a degree. And so he came out of the military. And right when he came out of the military, there was this thing with the military paid a lot of different stuff for your schooling. And if you went to different colleges, they gave special scholarships for military people, right? So basically, he was able to hop around. So his GPA was high enough that he just got like a zillion credits as he spent like 9 years getting his bachelor's degree. I think he had like 3 majors or something by the end of it. It was ridiculous, right? He bounced around, did all this different stuff, right? So he was doing that. And basically, he was just out there just having like a fun time. So he goes over. And it was an interesting story too, like with him, because he goes over and he works for one of the agencies, right? So this is Maryland. He works for an agency. Don't worry about it. So he works for the agency. And it was really funny because he was talking about it. Like one day, the agency walks in, or somebody from the agency walks in. And there was this whole thing like with the agencies that they need like a quota of people that know different languages, right? There's a zillion different languages in the world. And so they need people to be able to speak those different languages, just in case something stupid happens in an area. And so he was talking about was Albanian, right? Who the fuck wants to learn Albanian? But they come in and they say, yep, we will, the agency, is going to pay somebody to go off to Monterey, California for a year to go and learn Albanian because we need one of those. Right? He's like, well, fuck it, right? I don't know Albanian. Monterey, California is a really nice place. Fuck, I'll go. I'll go learn Albanian, right? Tell you what, motherfucker goes off and learns Albanian. Who the hell cares about Albanian? Until Kosovo and Yugoslavia and all that kind of stuff just fucking blow up. And then he's the one guy in the office who's fluent in Albanian. His value went through the roof. And again, the thing is, like I talk about, like with your professional degree, your professional career, is you have to remember outsized rewards. So again, everybody thinks like you move ahead in your career just plodding along A, B, C, D. When really what you do is you get boosts every once in a while. So for like him, all the crap blows up over there, and he's the one guy who fucking knows Albanian. So he can go to every meeting. He can be at every briefing. He's the guy everybody's coming up to and says, what the hell does this mean? Right? Very good for his career, right? Again, it's just about being flexible. It's about going out there and learning new things and always being open to whatever is available. Because again, you do not know when Albanian is going to become like the most in need skill. Right. But I talked with a lot of people that way, and that's what I found is like so many people. It was all the people that were happy and the people that were successful. It was so much about flexibility. It was about accepting. It was accepting the opportunities that randomly showed up. Again, back then when I was looking at getting the agencies and all that, I was at a ski resort once, right? And I'm up going on the ski lift, and I sit by this woman. Ends up finding out she's an FBI agent. Again, and talk to everybody, right? She's an FBI agent. And I'm talking to her. It's like, oh, I'm getting my criminal justice degree. How did you become an FBI agent? Motherfucker. I was just like, can I just jump off the ski lift right now? I just jump off this ski lift. Can all this be over? So I'm sitting there like, okay, an FBI agent, right? there's all this thought, how do you get to be an FBI agent? And so she said, well, how I became an FBI agent is she was like, I was out west skiing somewhere, and I got onto a ski lift, and there was this really cute guy beside me. And so I'm sitting there, and we're all flirting or whatever. And then at one point, he asks me, like, what I do for a living. And she was an accountant. And he was like, well, I work for the FBI, and we need more accountants. And he handed over the business card. And basically, one thing led to another. And she was an FBI agent. And she was having a fun time. She loved being an FBI agent. At that time, they were getting paid. They had good benefits and all that kind of stuff. And she was just having a gay old time. And I was just sitting there, and I was just looking at that. I was like, how do you replicate that? How do you replicate this shit? How do you replicate the boss coming in and saying, who wants to learn Albanian? How do you replicate the cute guy that you're flirting with passing a business card and saying, hey, have you ever thought working for the FBI? How do you replicate any of this stuff? And what you realize is that you don't specifically replicate that. What you do is you go out there and you have experiences and you build a good backstory, you build a good life, you talk with a lot of people, you figure out what the hell it is that you actually want, and then one thing leads to another, and at some point you get to it. Again, like I say, my story, sitting here talking to you folks, doing YouTube videos. This was not in the plans. I mean, this was so not in the plans. This was so far out of the plans. Again, YouTube didn't exist. YouTube is 10 years old. Again, I'm 40. 2 months off of 40. YouTube's 10 years old. Again, when I was 30, think about that, right? When I was 30, nobody cared about YouTube. It's like, what the hell is that? Oh, it's a place for cat videos. I hate cat videos, right? That was when I was 30. Not to mention all this other stuff. But it's like, it's just going with the flow. It's seeing the opportunities that were actually in front of you, and then going for those. And again, that's the whole thing. Like I see with so many people, is the important thing that I would argue is that you always try to move ahead. You always try to move ahead. So you're always trying to take higher levels of responsibility. But the thing is that you can't be too picky about those higher levels of responsibility. Again, like I said, fish jumped. Like I said before, if the only people that are hiring is the grocery store, then go work at the grocery store. If the only way that you can get a raise or get more money is being a manager at a grocery store, be a manager at a grocery store. Because the thing is, as you continually progress, you're going to start getting more and more different skills, and you're going to start getting skills that you don't even realize that you have. And then those skills may then be valuable later. Again, like I say, if you're trying to get in the technology field, I talked about this in a video before, and you think about what the hell does a grocery store have to do with the technology field? But if you start at a grocery store, because it's the only job that's available, and then you become a manager of a grocery store, again, once you're a manager of a grocery store, you're all focused on groceries. Motherfucker, I don't want to work for Safeway, I don't want to work for Giant, blah, blah, blah. The important thing is you're learning how to be a manager. You're learning to actually manage people. So if you can get the experience of being able to manage people, then when a job opens up at Verizon, or a job opens up at AT&T, or a job opens up for some tech company that's looking for managers, again, you're all focused. You're all focused on TCP/IP and Active Directory and all that crap. Again, managing people is a skill unto itself. And so if you have those management skills, that is what can be valuable, and then that's what can then get you into the tech field. Instead of starting out at help desk and going to desktop support and blah, 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 you start in a grocery store stocking shelves, then you become like the late night assistant manager, and then you become the manager, and then you go over and become the operations manager at a tech company. You do what is there. You follow the steps that are in front of you. And if you do that, I think there are many more opportunities that will be available. Because again, like I say, so many people are so focused. No, I will only take the job that fits into whatever it is. But then you're not getting these other experiences. Like I got questioned very hard at one point by an agency, actually. It was interesting. Could have gotten that job. But anyways, I was talking with this one guy, higher up in one of these agencies around here. And it was back when I was 23, and so I had all this experience. Plus, I was doing this whole regional support stuff, running all over the country, doing all this tech work. And so at that time, again, during the dot-com boom, I'm doing all this tech work. I'm doing telephone systems. I'm doing build-outs. I'm doing all that kind of stuff. So I'm very proud of that. So I'm talking to this older person, and I'm talking about all this Active Directory and all this stuff. And then he pauses for a second. He says, "Huh, that's interesting. You know, we're hiring, but tell me more about your leadership experience. Tell me more about your management experience." And I was like, "What? Oh, no, but I'm working on PBXs and Definity and audits and all that." He's like, yeah. But I'm more interested in your management experience. I'm like, "Really? Why is that?" And again, if somebody like corners you about something, always ask why. And what he said, "Look, I basically got an unlimited budget. I can buy whatever the hell I want. I can spend whatever I want. So as far as technical people go, if I need somebody, I can just pay for them." You know what I'm saying? And again, money alleviates a lot of problems. Like with this whole thing about there's like not enough computer programmers in the country, it's not that there's not enough computer programmers. It's that most companies don't want to pay what would be required to hire them. Right? He was like, "I don't have that problem. Right? If I need a programmer, or if I need a forensics person, or if I need any of that crap, I just hire them." And then he's like, "And then if they don't have the skills that I need," again, being an agency with the government and all that, he was like, "I just send them to training." And again, with the agencies, the military, and that type of thing, like they can literally send people to 2 years of training and just like write it off as like an expense. Like, "Oh, we needed somebody with that level of training, therefore we sent them to training." He was like, so all of that, like all the technical skill, doesn't really matter to me. Again, you write a check, it's fixed. He said, "The problem that I have, the real problem that we have is management. The real problem we have is leadership. The real problem we have is getting all of these different technical people to fucking move in the same direction." So he's like, honestly, the management aspect is the thing that is what is actually valuable. But again, if you talk with a lot of people that want to get into the tech industry, they wouldn't think about that. They would have no idea that, again, being a manager at a grocery store would have anything to do with the tech industry. But again, if you can learn to manage stuff, if you can learn to do documentation, if you can learn to do, all that kind of stuff, that's valuable across the board. But again, people get so focused. No, what I need to do is, it's like, no. Take the opportunities that are actually in front of you and go from there. That would be my thought. My thought would be more flexible in life and going with the flow. But I think that's really the important thing. Again, like I say, for all the young people out there, all the young adults out there, again, I don't care if you backpack around the world. I don't care if you do, I don't know, you go to Burning Man. I don't care if you go and become a drummer in a band or whatever. But I really have to say, it really is really invaluable to go out there and get a lot of these life experiences that have nothing to do with education, that have nothing to do with certifications. Because I will say time and time again, those are the things that will actually be valuable in life. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's ever asked to see my MCSE. Nobody has asked to see my MCSE. For anybody in high school, nobody's asked to see my high school diploma either. Nobody's asked to see my college degree. Nobody's asked to see any of that. I walk in, they say, "Can you solve the problem?" I say, "Yes, I solve the problem." They're happy. That's what they care about, right? So again, think about that. Because again, people get so fixated. And again, that's the whole thing, like I say, with people say, which option should I take? Eli, should I do this? And as I always say, do you actually have an option? Right? So many people, like they've got one thing on the table. Eli, do I take this minimum wage job? And I'm like waiting for the or. And there is no or. You're like, why wouldn't you? If the only opportunity on the table is a minimum wage job, take the minimum wage job until another opportunity presents itself. And then you hop there until another opportunity presents itself. And then you hop there, and then you get ahead. The people that are not successful is they're the ones just waiting for somebody to come and make them awesome. Like, I get that. So, and again, like I say, like I can't fully explain just the profound, how profoundly I'm just demoralized from doing Eli the Computer Guy. And like I say, with the tech videos and all that. Because again, it's the same type of thing where you don't know how many emails I get and communications I get for that channel where people say, like, I beg you to take me under your wing so I can be successful. I know that if I worked with you, I would be successful. I get this all the time. It's like, why? That's not, like, there's this idea, like I say, there's this idea that they put onto other people, they put onto other things. And I know if I had this one thing, then I would be successful. It's like, no, do the opportunities that are actually in front of you. Because yeah, this whole, like I say, this whole mentality of whatever it is, they want to do what they want to do. It's like, that's not going to get you anywhere. And again, it's so funny with that chemical engineer, because when I talked about that story before in one of my videos, there was so much pushback from that. There was so much pushback about how that really shows that woman didn't have passion, and how I would never want to work for a person like that, because you're like, wow, you folks have like no idea how the world really works, do you? But anyways, that is my thought. Flexibility gets you to where you're going at the end of the day. You do this, and you do this, and then you do this. Because again, like I say, that's the thing. Like, opportunities show up. And again, like, sometimes, you know, it's not that people don't have, like, I think everybody has luck. The question is what do you do with luck when it presents itself to you? So, like, when I started being a consultant, as I said before, I had no plans to be a consultant. I was putting up pull tab signs because I was screwed 9 ways from hell. I had gone from being on the 5-year retirement plan to a $10 an hour file clerk job at the hospital, and couldn't get a job. Just again, the economy was in there. Nobody was hiring IT people at the time. It all really sucked. And so I started putting up pull tab signs, and then I started getting paid, and things were going really well. But here's the thing to think about: how many people put up the pull tab signs and then still think in their head, oh, but this isn't really what I'm doing. What I'm really trying to do is get a job. And so they never really focus on building the consulting business. They never really focus on the success, right? So somebody comes to them to get some work done, and since they're really not focused on that, they don't try to upsell. Since they're really not focused on that, they don't say, hey, do you have any other computers you'd like to bring to me? Because, you know, this is just something I'm doing to pay for beer money. I'm really trying to find a job. That's the thing. The opportunity, like, you have this golden goose. You have this golden goose right in front of you. But you're like, no. What I really want. Again, like I say with this whole YouTube thing. Again, I could all be like, right? You know, that's the whole thing. Like what brought this up? I forgot about that. My other things is somebody was saying that I know Eli probably doesn't want to hear this. But I can imagine in 5 years, like people coming to him and him doing, you know, seminars or whatever and making money that way. That's probably not something that he wants to hear. I'm like, dude, I'm fine with that. Again, I am currently doing YouTube videos right now and traveling because it's a fun, good thing to do. And like I said, the other stuff makes me money at least. But you know, if the opportunity presents itself to do seminars for like 100 or 200 people somewhere down in South Beach, I'm all good with that too. Again, I am happy to basically go with the flow. The important thing is to be successful, to be good at what you do, to make money, and to be happy. So again, if I find I really enjoy standing up in front of 200 people and blathering the same way I blather into a video camera, I will be more than happy to take their $3,000 tickets. You know what I'm saying? Oh my God, I have to tell you. Like, because my wife came back from Byron Katie, and then she was saying Eckhart Tolle was doing something. I've talked to you about Eckhart Tolle before, and his whole thing was like sold out, and it's ridiculous. I don't know like how many people are going to it, but it was like so much money for like a 5-day thing. I'm like, Man, I want to be a guru. That is my goal. My goal is a whole guru thing. Because like I say, that's the whole thing like I found with Eckhart Tolle. And again, other people would be like, oh, I can't take any money. But like my wife and I, we went to an Eckhart Tolle thing. It was about 12 hours. It was like a day and a half Eckhart Tolle presentation thing. And it was so funny with Eckhart Tolle because you go there. I think it was like 150. It was up in New York City. I think it was like $150 a ticket, and there were hundreds of people. Let's say 300 people at $150 a ticket. So 150, 1,500, 15,000. So it's like $45,000 for like 2 days. And let me tell you, that boy said 3 things, 20 different ways, probably 200 different ways for 12 hours. But he spoke very well. Like when you see Eckhart Tolle speak, he looks like this little Muppet, but he speaks very well. But he basically said like the same 3 things over and over and over again. And it was the only moment you have is now. The future doesn't really exist, and the past doesn't really exist. You only exist in the current moment. You can't suffer. You cannot suffer enough to make somebody else happy. So this whole idea of, oh, there's kids starving in Africa, so I should starve. And it's like you're starving doesn't make them any less hungry. And then there was something else. But it was like 3 things. And he just kept reiterating those 3 things. Like 12 hours of him saying the same 3 things, essentially. And then at the end of it, people still didn't get it. Like I say, that's why I remember the African thing. Because there was this one woman who did like business in Africa. She was like, but every time I come out of the airport in Africa, there's all these starving kids. How can I get my mind around that? And he just looked at her. And she was like, is there any amount of suffering that you can do to make those hungry kids feel better? No. Do you have enough money to feed all those hungry kids? No. So stop worrying about it. Right? That's basically it. It's like, don't stress about what you can't do anything about. And it was so funny because like nobody seemed to get it. They keep asking the same question. And I was just like banging my head. And I was like, feel free to call this guy an idiot. If you think Eckhart Tolle is a moron, fine. But how can you not understand what this bastard's saying? He has said the same 3 things 2,000 different ways over 12 hours. Again, disagree with him. If you disagree with him, I completely understand that. But how can you not grasp the concept? But that's the thing. So he's doing like a 5-day thing that is completely sold out. And all he does is he talks about the same 3 concepts. So believe me, if I can get up on stage and like have like 5 things I talk about for like 5 days, and you guys are all gonna pay me lots of money, I'll be more than happy to take it. Because again, like I say, you joke at the whole guru thing, but there is so much money in guruism. Holy crap! And again, this is the thing. Like I want to talk to you guys, you folks about is because again, there's so many ways to make money in this world that they don't tell you in high school. They don't tell you in high school career counseling. I was never told. The thing you might want to think about is guruism. Guruism might be a good career for you, right? But yeah, it is huge. Like I say, my wife does this stuff, and again, with a lot of stuff that I read about a lot of these people, and they bring in so much money just for talking in front of people and saying, "This is what my opinion in life is." People are like, "Hey, here's money." So yeah, I would not feel bad about that. If this goes that way, if like every month or so I have some kind of seminar in South Beach, I would not feel sad about having a penthouse condo. I would not cry. It wouldn't be like, no, I can't accept your $3,000 per ticket. No, I just can't do it. We're like, thank you, and thank you, and thank you. And again, that's the other thing too, is just like taking the money that's offered to you. I see so many people with that. They just will not take the money that's offered to them. We will pay you this. Oh, I'll take it. I will take it. But again, like I say, you go and you figure out what makes you successful. I mean, that's the thing. Like with Lewis, again, whether or not his YouTube channel really brings him money, but so he does a YouTube channel, and then again, like I think he charges like $3,000 for like a few days of like one-on-one motherboard training. And again, how do you even plan for that? It's just the flexibility of what shows up. You sit there, you go, I'll offer this, And if anybody wants to come, I'll make money off of it. And then you find out people actually want to do it. You're like, holy hell. Right? Take the money and run. So that is a thought on flexibility. Like I say, the most successful, interesting, and all that people I know, that's the thing. They're just flexible. That was the thing too, like with CIOs, that brings it like the whole technical world. Is when I was in India, I was in Pune, India. Anyways, Aurangabad. Anyways, there's these temples somewhere east of Mumbai. There are these temples that are carved straight out of the mountains. They're absolutely amazing. It's not bricks. It's not like they carved out the mountain and then built the temples. They actually carved the temples out of the mountain. It looks like temples that are 3D printed. And insane. Like there's no lines, there's no mortar. They're like literally carved. It's like, imagine like creating a sand castle only with stone and really fucking big. But anyways, I was there. And India was just like insane. And I ran into this Australian woman. And so we basically, we were traveling around a little bit together, and then we just sat down in this one temple so we could finally get away from the insanity, because India is just insane. We just started talking, and it was interesting because, talking, what do you do in life? And she had been a CIO recruiter during the .com boom. And I was like, really? That's interesting. And so, yeah, she had been in Silicon Valley, and she had been a recruiter for CIOs. And I said, well, what do you think about CIOs as people? Like, did you like working with them? She was like, I absolutely loved working with CIOs. They're the greatest people in the world. They're absolutely amazing. And I was like, really? Because again, from the technical field, you don't really hear non-technical people like say they adore technical folks. So I was like, why do you adore CIO people? And she said, especially then during the .com boom, she was like, well, these are people that they have to be really, really, really smart because you're dealing with a lot of new technology. And so dealing with technology, Active Directory, servers, all that, you got to know that. But she was like, but then on the other hand, they have to be really good with people. Because again, with your CIO, you got to deal with the other C-level executives, plus you got to deal with managers, plus you got to deal with geeks, plus you got to deal with a lot of different people to basically get everybody on board. Because again, I mean, if you deploy a new system, but none of the secretaries buy into the new system, the project fails. And you see that kind of crap a lot. Like with employees sabotage projects and companies so much, where the company deploys something, and then the employees just refuse to use it. Right, so you don't get buy-in, right? You're doing all this work, you're spending all this money, and then if the secretaries don't use it, don't matter, right? So she has to be really good with people. And then the thing was, since all this was new, and again, in the technology world, it's all about doing things that are new, doing things that are untried, doing things that people haven't thought about before. She said that they have to be very open-minded, they have to be very imaginative, that basically they have to see the things that no one else sees. And she said those type of people were like absolutely amazing to be around. And so again, that's kind of thing to think about, like with your career, is think about how you get all of those kind of aspects. Again, it's not the CCIE, it's not the college degree, it's the human skills. It's a thinking beyond the box. It's thinking about all of these different things and bringing it all together to become somebody that's actually valuable for the organization. And again, I laugh about that now because it's funny, because it is. It's like, however many years ago, like talking, when I was in India, backpacking through India, talking to the CIO recruiter. And now it's years and years and years and years later. And like, oh, yeah, that's a good story, right? But anyways, I've been babbling at you folks for about an hour and 13 minutes. I need to go in and have a little dinner. I can feel I don't have the tinfoil hat on, so I can feel the Lewis energy trying to get to me. I can feel him trying to poke me with those little multimeter probes. But he will not win. He will not win. If I have to crush him with another 50,000 subscribers, that is what will have to happen. We will bring him to the dark side. I'm just curious to see what will happen with that. Because again, it is funny, like, and that's a cool thing, like when you make bets and you say kind of stuff like that, is because it can seem kind of like snotty or like egotistical or whatever when you first say it. But then when you get an event like Lewis has had over the past month, where he gains like 41,000 subscribers in a month. It's kind of like one of those where you go from looking egotistical to looking pernicious. I could see what other people couldn't see. But anyways, those are the thoughts. So with that, we'll call it a day, and I will see you folks tomorrow.